The new Chancellor unveiled his budget today, the coronavirus budget, and I'm here with Stuart and Claire from LB Group, and we're going to look about what this budget might mean for businesses and people with investment. So welcome, Stuart and Claire.
Hi.
Hi. Let's start. We've got to talk about the coronavirus budget. What did the Chancellor announce for businesses today, Stuart?
Yes, so at the start of the speech, he made a sort of vital point that this was going to be a big factor of today's budget. And there were sort of three sort of pertinent areas that he raised. Obviously, there's a lot of concerns and fears in the business community of the impact that this could have on their businesses. And the three big areas was around statutory sick pay. Obviously, the government supporting the payment of statutory sick pay for 14 days, which will be a big relief for our clients. Also, he has arranged that time to pay is being brought back in. Which is the ability to liaise with HM Revenue and Customs to spread payments of tax liabilities that, again, aid businesses.
Will businesses just have to negotiate that?
Yeah, absolutely. He actually made a comment, I can't remember the numbers that he mentioned, but additional resources at HMRC to help support those claims. But it'd be a case of clients ringing them if they couldn't meet their obligations.
So it's VAT and
PAYE and corporation tax, and it'd be personal income tax for self-employed people. So again, to try and help. Also made comments around business interruption loans, so putting facilities in place if companies needed additional funding to support this at this time where they couldn't meet their obligations.
So as yet, we're not really sure about the details around this?
No, not at this stage. Obviously today we get the sort of snapshot overview, and obviously the devil's in the detail, so we'll be analysing that to have a better understanding of what that looks like after today.
But they're giving money to the banks to give up to £1.2 million loans to businesses who need it?
Well, I think there was a number of factors. One, they just made reference to this business interruption funding, where obviously I guess there's going to be a facility for businesses who can support that they've been impacted by coronavirus can actually apply for those loans. And obviously there's also comments around the reduction of the interest rate today to help businesses as well. And other factors which are indirectly going to help businesses, not directly linked to the coronavirus, but other smaller areas. Small area of increase in the employer allowance from £3,000 to £4,000, which is the first £4,000 worth of national insurance that a business pays. So that's a small token, but
hopefully encouraging people to take on staff.
Absolutely, yeah. Together with that, there was obviously changes around business rates as well. So
big changes? Yeah,
big changes. So two sort of areas. One, to aid the retail and hospitality industry. So businesses with rateable values of below 51,000 will benefit, and also.
So they're saying for a year. Is it from a year from today for the next 12 months?
Yeah, I believe so. Was that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And also for small businesses. Companies that qualify for something called small business rates relief, that they can apply for a £3,000 grant.
And there's no real qualification for that apart from they have to be under £10,000.
Yeah, it's a rateable value qualification. So most people, obviously on a tax year basis, will receive their rates from their local council, and it will stipulate whether they are qualifying for small business rates relief. And under what was announced today, that they can apply for a £3,000 grant funding. So another sort of effort to try and help a small business.
So you're saying off here that even though it's been called the coronavirus budget, you were thinking a lot of this was going to happen anyway to just help stimulate the economy?
There was, prior to the budget, there was a lot of talk around stimulating it in the retail sector. Obviously, it's been a tough position. And I think it's only compounded by the coronavirus. So I think that probably initial thoughts of ways to help the retail industry have just expanded because of the impact that this virus is having.
Did the Chancellor mention Brexit? I watched the whole thing.
He indirectly did.
Interesting, isn't it? Because it would have been the Brexit budget.
Absolutely. And I think that there was other points that we thought were going to be raised prior to coronavirus that would have been more prevalent in his speech. IR35, for example, is a big change which is coming in on the 6th of April, and it didn't really get a mention. So I think, as we've said, it's the coronavirus budget that dominated some of the points that have been made.
Brilliant. And so actually, around the income tax rates and allowance, there hasn't been a big change at all, has it? You just run us through that, Claire.
Yeah, so there hasn't been any changes in the personal tax allowances or rates, and corporation tax, that's going to remain at 19%. The biggest change is in relation to national insurance. So they've increased the threshold where people start paying national insurance to £9,500.
So that's up from 8,000?
8,300-ish, and they'll increase it to 9,500. So that's going to impact quite a few of our clients, because most of our clients have a minimum salary out of their business. So they can see an increase from the 6th of April to £9,500 a year.
It's not going to equate to an awful lot of money though, is it?
No, but it all helps.
It all helps.
Yeah.
Excellent. And pensions, again, not a lot, not much changes there. Just maybe they're trying to do something to encourage doctors and consultants to work a bit more.
So the Chancellor sort of announced that it was in relation to helping doctors and consultants, GPs, coming out of the annual allowance tax charge. So at the moment we're in a system where most individuals are able to contribute £40,000 into their pensions without incurring a tax charge. And there was a lot of discussion around GPs, consultants reducing their hours so that they weren't impacted by this additional tax charge. So what we've found is today the Chancellor's announced an increase in income thresholds, at which point the annual allowance tapering actually starts to kick in. So at the moment, anybody with income over £110,000 is actually impacted by a tapered annual allowance. They've increased that limit to £200,000. So those high earners are going to be squeezed more in terms of the amount that they can pay into their pension without incurring tax.
A bit of a bonus for the people earning over £110,000.
Yeah, absolutely. I think overall, it's going to take a lot of people out of the tapering, so that they won't have to worry too much about excess tax charge each year. But the system still remains complex, so there's questions around why didn't they abolish it completely.
Brilliant. And so the big one for a lot of business owners and probably a lot of both of your clients is the entrepreneurs relief. So there has been talk before the budget there was going to change. Yeah. Let's talk about it. What's the big thing that they've announced?
Yes, as you say, there was a lot of speculation prior to the budget. Everybody anticipated that there to be a change. So the big change that they've announced, which takes immediate effect as of today, is the lifetime allowance, which prior to today sat at £10 million, is reducing now to £1 million. So for clients and business owners who were anticipating a sale or are looking to make a sale in the future, obviously if the gain that they're making is in excess of that £1 million, they will no longer receive entrepreneur relief, which gave an effective tax rate of 10%. They will be paying capital gains tax at the rate of 20%.
So capital gains tax is still not terrible, but it is a big amount if you're selling for several £1 million or over £1 million.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it takes immediate effect, doesn't it, Claire?
Yep, so with effect from today's date. It's good news that they haven't abolished it completely, because that's what there was a lot of rumours around that they were going to abolish entrepreneurs relief. So in one respect that's a positive, but it's a massive drop from 10 million just down to £1 million allowance.
And transactions is only very much from today, is it from historical transactions as well?
Well, we do need to consider what's happened in the past. So they have introduced some what they call anti-forestalling measurements. So we will have to look back at transactions that have happened since the 6th of April 2019 to see if they're impacted by the £1 million allowance. So we'll have to take that into account. But also clients need to be aware that it is a £1 million allowance. So if they do sell business assets in the future, and they've already sold business assets in the past, we will need to take those into account.
It's this idea that it's a lifetime allowance.
Correct,
it's not just
per
sale.
So for example, if you take a client that's sold £700,000 worth of business assets in the past, they've only got an allowance left of £300,000. So any gains will be taxed at 10% on £300,000, and then the balance taxed at 20%.
Brilliant. So give me your overall impression of today's budget.
I think obviously we haven't touched upon some of the, or one of the big focuses was around government spending. That's not for our forum today, but that the figures that have been stated in terms of what he's trying to do to stimulate the economy in terms of improving the infrastructure, that has been quite vast from a tax perspective alone.
From an accountant, though, the books aren't balancing all that
well,
are they?
Yeah, well, I think that where the balance, there is always has to be balance. Obviously, the entrepreneur relief, he quoted that it was costing the government purse £2 billion a year, so that's some take. There was also comments around obviously further tightening around the use of tax avoidance schemes. So obviously that will add to the coffers to help support obviously the funding. I haven't looked at the details, but I would guess that the balancing is debt. It is borrowing from the government in order to undertake the expenditure that he's looking to do. But from a tax perspective, not a huge amount that has come out, and a lot of the things that did come out, entrepreneur relief being one of the big ones, was largely predicted. But there was obviously a focus on the coronavirus and what impact that could have on our economy and how the government's there to support us.
And what do you say, Claire? What are your thoughts on that?
I think there wasn't much tax policy. We were anticipating some changes around entrepreneurs relief, so that wasn't so much of a surprise. But one area that did surprise me was that there was no mention of inheritance tax, and we was expecting a lot of reform to do with that. So we'll just have to see what the budget brings in autumn. I suspect there'll be more changes announced then.
Brilliant. Okay, so not too much to talk about from tax point of view. Thank you so much. But to get back to work, I'm sure you've got lots of people ringing up about the entrepreneurs relief at least anyway.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.